There's a truth Friedrich Nietzsche buried inside his work that most people read past without ever feeling its weight. He did not just say God is dead. He said something far more dangerous. He said, you are free. And freedom, real freedom, is the heaviest thing a human being will ever carry. Most people beg for freedom their whole lives. They scream about it. They post about it. They claim they want it more than anything. But the moment freedom actually arrives, the moment no one is telling them what to do, what to believe, who to be, something strange happens. They panic. They run back to the cage. Not because the cage was comfortable, but because the cage came with instructions. This is the truth Nietzsche understood before almost anyone else. Once you remove the rules handed to you by religion, by society, by your parents, by your culture, you are not left standing in some peaceful meadow of self-discovery. You are left standing in front of a void, and that void asks you one brutal question. Now, what do you believe? Now, who decides what is right and wrong? Now, who tells you your life means something? Most people cannot answer that question, so they do something quieter and more tragic. They borrow an identity instead of building one. They take opinions from influencers, morals from trends, purpose from approval. They let the crowd decide who they are, because deciding for yourself is terrifying. Nietzsche had a name for this kind of human being. He called them the herd. Not because they were stupid, many of them are brilliant, but because they would rather be safe and the same than free and alone. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. You have done this too. Everyone has. There was a moment in your life where you silenced your real opinion because the room disagreed. A moment where you changed how you dressed, how you spoke, even how you laughed, just to be accepted. A moment where you abandoned a dream because someone with more confidence than courage told you it was unrealistic. That was not weakness in the way people think. Nietzsche would say that was something far more dangerous. That was you trading your own life for someone else's comfort. But here's the twist most people never see coming. Nietzsche was not condemning you for needing others. He was warning you about something deeper. He was warning you about the moment when fitting in becomes more important than being true. Because the herd does not just ask for your behavior. Eventually, it asks for your soul. And most people hand it over without even noticing, one small compromise at a time. Think about how this plays out in real life. A person has a vision, a hunger, a fire to build something different. Then the world around them, family, friends, even people who claim to love them, start whispering doubt. Be realistic. Don't dream too big. Stay where it's safe. And slowly, the fire turns into ash, not because the person failed, but because they let other people's fear become their own. This is where Nietzsche's idea becomes almost violent in its honesty. He believed most people do not actually want truth. They want comfort disguised as truth. They want to be told their choices are fine, their excuses are valid, their fears are reasonable. But growth, real growth, demands the opposite. It demands you face the parts of yourself you have been avoiding, the laziness you call busy, the fear you call practicality, the resentment you call standards. Nietzsche pushed even further into territory most people are not ready for. He said suffering is not your enemy. Avoiding meaning is. Pain that has no purpose destroys you. But pain that builds something, pain that forges character, pain that teaches you who you really are when everything comfortable is stripped away, that pain creates strength no comfort ever could. This is the brutal lesson hidden behind his most famous idea. What does not kill you does not just make you stronger by accident. It makes you stronger only if you choose to extract meaning from it, instead of letting it turn into bitterness. Most people get this backwards. They experience pain, betrayal, failure, loneliness. And instead of asking what this is trying to teach me, they ask, why is this happening to me? One question builds power. The other one builds a prison. Nietzsche knew the difference between victims and what he called the higher individual was not the absence of suffering. Everyone suffers. The difference was what they did with it afterward. Now here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. Nietzsche believed weakness disguises itself as virtue. People who are too afraid to take risks call themselves humble. People who are too bitter to forgive call themselves wise. People who refuse to evolve call themselves loyal to who they have always been. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths in his entire philosophy. Sometimes the moral language people use is not honesty. This is not an attack on kindness or humility when they are real. It is a warning about the version of them that exists only to excuse fear. Because real strength does not need a disguise. So if freedom is this heavy, if most people cannot bear it, what does Nietzsche say to actually survive it? He gives one demand, and it is brutal in its simplicity. Create your own values, not values handed to you by trend or fear or guilt. Values you have tested through pain, through failure, through standing completely alone and still choosing who you want to be. This is what he meant by becoming who you are, not discovering some hidden perfect self waiting to be found. Building yourself, piece by piece, choice by choice, often in isolation, often misunderstood, sometimes hated for it. This is the dangerous truth most people cannot handle. Freedom is not a gift. It is a responsibility most people quietly refuse. They want the appearance of an independent life while secretly still asking the crowd for permission. But the moment you stop asking permission to think, to want, to fail, to rebuild, something shifts inside you. You stop being soft clay shaped by everyone else's hands. You start becoming the sculptor. This will cost you something. People who needed you small will feel threatened when you grow. People who needed you obedient will call you arrogant when you set boundaries. People who needed you uncertain will call you cold when you finally become certain. That is not proof you are doing something wrong. It is often proof you are finally doing something real. So, here is the final truth. The one most people will scroll past and forget by tomorrow. The one that should instead sit in your chest like a stone. You do not need the world's permission to become powerful. You do not need approval to become free. The only thing standing between who you are right now and who you could become is your willingness to face the silence. The same silence everyone runs from. The same silence Nietzsche walks straight into. And the brutal, beautiful truth is this. Whoever can survive that silence without needing the noise of others to feel real becomes someone the world can no longer control.